Hello, hello, wonderful people. It is time for another Chris McPherson Show Daily Dose. And we are looking to get into the US Open. And we're going to be trying to bring these to you each and every day to look ahead to the US Open matches as they come out. And we're going to do a bit of a preview into day one today and dig apart what is happening, what could happen, and what we think will happen at the US Open. We'll be looking to hopefully have Christian Monaghan from the First Serve on for a few of these episodes as well to bring some really detailed tennis insight. But for today, it is me, Chris, flying solo. We're going to start by having a bit of a look at the women's draw, and we're going to try and break it down section by section. We'll talk through some of the key matchups, the seeds, some floaters who might be there. So starting with the top half of the draw, and obviously the top of the draw is number one, Arina Sabalenka. She's sitting there. She will match up theoretically on seed with Leylah Fernandez, who's seen some decent form in the lead up the 31st seed, although she's got a tough match against Rebecca Marino, who's made it through to the third round previously here at the US Open, I should say, having a flashback there to the clay. Another one to watch here, Marie Buzkova. She could be a little bit dangerous, a little bit of a floater as well. When we move on to the other bit of section one, we've got Elisa Mertens and Clara Tolson. Tolson obviously been in really good form across the start of this year and has been moving up the rankings. I don't really see too many others challenging here. Alexandria Yala, we'll talk about her a little bit later in this episode. She's obviously had some good form, but I don't know how she'll go advancing through on the hard courts. We'll wait and see. But this is really Sabalenka's section to dominate, and I expect her to do so. Moving into the second quadrant, we're going to do these through in sort of eights, if you will. There's the 8 sections. And this one, the top seeds in this, Elena Rybakina at the top of this section. She's got a wild card from the US in the first round. Looking at some other names, Emma Raducanu, a little bit of a floater there in this segment as well. Veronika Kudermetova's here. We've got McCartney Kessler, Magda Linette, Vondrushova as well. And then Jasmine Paolini is the other seed. Rybakina, probably the favourite for mine to push through here. We haven't seen the best of Paolini on the hard courts in recent times. She hasn't really got back to the heights that she did last year. So I think Rybakina probably the favourite to progress in that section. The next section sees us come to one of the great US hopes, Jessica Pegula, the 4th seed sitting there. In her segment, we've got the other seed being Yastremska, Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova also in here, Blinkova in here, Victoria Azarenka. So this is a really loaded section. It'll be interesting to see who gets through to the third round. Pegula should be favourite, but again, she hasn't quite been at her best in recent times, so we'll see how that goes. On the other side of this, it's Ludmila Samsonova and Belinda Bencic, the two names there. So I think there's a few people that could stake their claim in terms of trying to push through into the next stages, but we'll wait and see. Moving on to the bottom section of the top half, and the big names here. Emma Navarro, again, not in the greatest of form. Should be an interesting one. Victoria Mboko, we know that she just won in Canada, in her home country, breaking that drought for the country. She comes up against Barbora Krejcikova, a bit of a danger one in the first round, so that could be interesting. And then we've got Yelena Ostapenko, the 25th seed, and Mira Andreeva. Again, we haven't quite seen the best of Mira Andreeva, so what that looks like could be quite interesting. And then we've got a couple of Americans floating down here as well, Taylor Townsend and Alicia Park. So can they throw some sparks and maybe get some upsets? It'll be interesting to see. Andreeva should on form and on pedigree win this section and should be able to go through and push towards maybe this could open up realistically with Andreeva and Pegula in there. If they fall early, this could really open up for a bit of a smoky or a dark horse to push through and go deep into the quarterfinals or maybe even the semifinals if they both fall. But if just one falls, it might open the draw up for them as well. So interesting to see how Andreeva goes. I think the court should suit her here at Flushing Meadows, but we'll wait and see. We head to section 5 in the top of the bottom half. It sounds very confusing, I know. But we've got Madison Keys there. She's got Marta Kostyuk in her section. Katie Bolter, the first round matchup for Marta Kostyuk. That's a tough first round draw. We've got Katie Volinets as a qualifier. Diane Parry. She'll play Petra Kvitova as well. So again, a few smokies here. We then head down and we have the 11th seed on the other edge of this section, and that is Karolina Mutkova. And she takes on a name that a few people might know, Venus Williams, with a wild card. Williams comes into the tournament at the age of 45 years of age. Look, I don't see her going deep in this, but has she got enough talent to upset a Mukova in the first round? Possibly. I think Mukova will be a pretty short favourite. Sorana Sesteya's in here with a protected ranking as well. Linda Noskova. So this is a really interesting one. Even Eva Lees, someone who can rattle a few cages in Grand Slam tournaments. Head to Section 6, and the Aussie Daria Kazakina's there. The great Aussie hope. We'll see how she goes. A possible second-round matchup with Caroline Garcia. We've also got Naomi Osaka in this segment, the 23rd seed. Katerina Siniakova, Heather Baptiste as well. We also then head down to the 28th seed, Magdalena Fretch, the Polish player. She'll come up against Talia Gibson in the first round. We've got Peyton Stearns. We've got Donna Vekic, Buzas Monero as well. Coco Goff, the third seed's in this one as well. So it's pretty loaded. There's some real names here, but maybe some options if some seeds fall early. Kazakina hasn't been at her best in recent Grand Slams since she converted to Australianism, if we will. So wait and see how she goes. Coco Goff, though, her first round opponent, Alia Tomljanovic, another Aussie in action. Obviously, we know that Tomljanovic has made some runs at some slams previously. So we'll see how that shapes up for her. The hard courts do suit reasonably well to her game, and she's made the quarterfinal here back in, I'm going to say 2022. So we'll see how she plays in this one. We head down to the 7th section, and we've got Amanda Anisimova, again, another Aussie drawing a seed first up. Kim Birrell will take on Anisimova. Maya Joint also in this little section. Danielle Collins, a dangerous one. Sophia Kennan, the other seed here, and Ashlyn Kruger. So interesting there. Plenty of American talent in this bit. Beatrice Haddad-Meyer will come up against Sunny Cartel in the first round. Obviously, Cartel did well at Wimbledon. Boisson, who went well at the French Opens here. Maria Sakkari. Alina Svitolina is the seed, and another sort of smoky here who we saw with some good form in the lead up to Wimbledon is Tatiana Maria. So, look, I think Anisimova should, on her Wimbledon form, push through here and march forward. And I mean, it could potentially see if she could get through to a quarter final, a rematch of that Wimbledon final where she was absolutely decimated. I'd back her a lot more favourably here on the hard courts, but I'm sure she'd love another chance up against the number 2 seed who finds herself at the bottom of this draw, as they do, Iga Swiatek. So interesting names in here. Anna Kalinskaya is here. Yulia Putintseva, Cocciaretto as well. And then the top segment here, we've got Diana Schneider up against Siegmund in the first round. Always a tough first round draw, Laura Siegmund. And Katerina Alexandrova, she'll come up against Anastasia Sevastova in the first round. So interesting here. I think this one should go to script, and it should really be Alexandrova coming through. Schneider might be a little bit of a curly one. Putintseva and Kalinskaya in the second round could be good, but again, I think Swiatek should march through to the quarterfinals. I expect that she'll go a fair way in this tournament off the back of her Wimbledon win, and she started to free herself up, and she's playing a lot better. Obviously, we saw how well she played in the lead-up. So that's our preview of the women's draw. Let's have a look at the men's draw as well. And obviously, Yannick Sinner, the top seed, is at the top of the draw. And a potential second-round matchup with Alexei Popyrin is a tough one. Denis Shapovalov is the other seed in that tiny top wedge there, possible third-round matchup. He's got Fuchsovics in the first round. An interesting first-round matchup for another one of the seeds here. Alex Bublik takes on Marin Cilic. Also got Lorenzo Sonego in here, Nuno Borges, Brandon Holt, and Tommy Paul. So it's fairly loaded, this top segment. I think Popyrin, it's going to be tough for him. He's obviously slid outside of the seedings in recent weeks after not defending those points in Toronto. So that means that he is a floater, but even that first match against Ruusuvuori in his protected ranking is going to be tough. But I can't see Sinner not going through here. It would be quite surprising. Next up, interesting first-round match here for Lorenzo Musetti up against Mteshi Perricard from France. Perricard is a danger on these hard courts. Big booming serve. We know how well it plays, especially on these Flushing Meadows courts. So he could be a potential top 10 seed exiting in the first round. Obviously got Alex Vukic here up against Jensen Brooksby. Kaboli playing against a French qualifier. Gabriel Diallo could be a smoky here for me as well. Keeping an eye on him. Zizou Burgess as well. Jean Mounard. Jack Draper. This is when we're going to see how healthy he is and what he can do here. But again, it could be an opportunity here for someone like a Diallo or a Kaboli to push through and maybe get through beyond the fourth round and into the quarters of a slam here. Moving into the third section, we've got Alexander Zverev. He's got his first round matchup against Alejandro Tabillo. Jacob Fernley, Bautista Agut, Gael Monfils, some sliders here. Auger Aliassime, the Canadian, another one of the seeds in here. We then see, again, the seeds drawing Australians. Ugo Humbert will take on Walton. And then we go down to Rublev, the other seed in this section. James Duckworth, a potential second round matchup for him. He's come in as a lucky loser. And we'll take on American wildcard Tristan Boyer in the first round. So not a bad draw for Duckworth. We then head to the fourth section where we've got Karen Hatchinov. He'll come up against Basafaretti from America, one of the wild cards. Sarundalo, he's got a tough first round draw against Matteo Arnaldi. Another low seed in this one, a man who was formerly right up at the top of the rankings. Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece, he'll come up against Alexandre Muller of France. Hugo Gaston floating in here. And then Alex de Minaur, again an Aussie, but he draws another Aussie, the Aussie 8th seed coming up against O'Connell. So Chris O'Connell, a big ask against his countryman. Does mean we're guaranteed an Aussie in the second round, though, so we'll take the silver linings. Novak Djokovic has Leonard Tien. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on in this episode. We then look at Mickelson from the US, Francis Tiafoe here as well, Jon Leonard Struff, Botic van der Zandschulp, Mackenzie McDonald as well, and Holger Rune. So this is an interesting one. Open up. I think Djokovic should really be surprised if he doesn't get through. Norrie and Korda could be some floaters dangerous in that section for the likes of Mickelson. Could be an interesting second round matchup. We'll wait and see. Quite a lot of Americans in that section there. We'll talk about Mensik and Jarry a little bit later on as well. Mensik, the 16th seed, a projected fourth round matchup against Taylor Fritz. Brandon Nakashima, Jesper de Jong in here, Thomas Mahach and Yao Fonseca. I think, to be fair, Yao Fonseca probably hasn't performed to the expectation yet. A lot of high hopes on him. So will we see that on the hard courts? We know it's not likely to be his favourite surface, but maybe this shapes up well enough. An interesting possible second round matchup with Mahach. We go into the next section, the penultimate section of the draw, and we've got Blake Shelton, the 6th seed. A couple of floaters here where we'll talk about their matchup shortly. Jordan Thompson and Corentin Moutet. Adrian Manarino comes up against the 29th seed Talon Griekspoor. We've got Borna Coric here, a first-round matchup for the Czech. Yuri Lehechka, the 20th seed. A couple of Argentines, Diego Galan, Sebastian Offner against Casper Ruud in the first round. That's an interesting matchup too. Offner could challenge Ruud a little bit, but again, I said Blake Shelton before. It's Ben Shelton, of course. Not doing country music here. Ben Shelton would be favourite to push through here, but a few tricky players that could come up for him. Potential second round matchup: Carreno Busta. Third round could be a Griekspoor or a Manarino, a Thompson, a Moutet. So it's not going to be an easy run, but he's going to get some good challenges along the way. We then look at Daniel Medvedev. He slipped outside the top 10 down to 13th seed. Now he'll take on Benjamin Bonzi in the first round. Davidovich Fokina has been in some good form leading in. He could be a bit of a smoky here. Arthur Rinderschneck and Carbeas Baena floating around as well. Then we see the 32nd seed Darderi is drawn again, an Aussie, Rinky Hijikata. The winner of that will play one of the American wildcards of Dostanic or Spaziri. Bellucci floating here. And then Carlos Alcaraz, a big first match for him. Big serving American, unseeded, Riley Opelka. Look, he's been as high as sort of the top 17 in the world previously, Opelka, so we know what he can do if he can find his best form. So that's going to be an interesting one. But again, Alcaraz heavily favoured. I think most pundits, most tipsters are talking about a Sinner Alcaraz final again for a third Grand Slam in a row. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up those two. Let's talk about some Aussie watch, though, and talk about some matches that we're going to be looking at for this first day. And we're going to pick apart a few matches, Aussies first, and then we'll head into the matches of interest outside of the Aussie. So with Aussie watch, we've got Destiny Ieva taking on the 7th seed Yasmin Paolini. Ieva's qualified with back-to-back three-setters coming from a set down twice, including a third set tiebreak in the final round of qualifying. It's only the third time she's made the main draw of a slam outside of Australia. She's been eliminated in the first round of each of her prior non-Aussie slams. The first round at the French this year, where she lost to Yastremska, and then the first round at last year's US Open, where she drew a high seed in Elena Rybakina, who was 4th seed at the time. We know Jasmine Paolini, I touched on her before. She's had a little bit of a quieter year. Has a career record of 4 wins, 5 losses at the US Open. But look, she had a breakout 2024. She made the 4th round here at the US. She needs to find that form again. And we've seen some good form recently, making the final of Cincinnati, where she went down to Iga Swiatek, who's absolutely playing lights-out tennis at the moment. But she defeated Coco Gauff, Barbara Krejcikova, Maria Sakkari, and Ashlyn Kruger as well on the way there. So I think she'll go in as pretty short favourite. It'd be quite a surprise for me if Ieva takes a set off Paolini. Paolini needs to get this one done in straight sets. Next up, we've got a couple of the Aussie men in action. Rinky Hijikata will take on the 32nd seed Italian Luciano Darderi. Hijikata is not without a hope here. He can be a challenging opponent for Darderi, but he's a definite outsider. Look, we know he has form on the hard courts. He has his best Grand Slam performance at the US Open. He made the last 16 in 2023, but that was a couple of years ago, obviously. Darderi hasn't had the best of hard court form, but again, he's made his way into the top 32, into the seedings. He'll fancy himself here, but I think Hijikata's a smoky. I'm actually going to tip Hijikata to take this in 5 sets. Rinky to go deep, the Aussie sensation. So it is 1-0 head-to-head, but that was on clay. Darderi beating Hijikata in the first round of the 2024 French Open. So, again, I'm going to go Hijikata to get this one done in 5, maybe 4 if he can turn the screws a little bit. But, again, we know he likes the hard courts. Speaking of players who are suited to the hard courts, let's talk Jordan Thompson. He's going to come up against Corentin Moutet. Thompson's game, we know, well suited to the hard courts. He's been to the last 16 twice here at Flushing Meadows, 2020, the COVID year, in 2024. He also won the doubles here last year. So coming off a strong Wimbledon, we know it's going to be his health that is the big question mark here after he retired hurt in the 4th round there at Wimbledon. Hasn't played a lot of tennis since then, but has gone back on the court in recent weeks. So we'll wait and see how he goes. Moutet, on the other hand, look, if he can find his rhythm, he's a bit of a spanner in the works for a lot of people. I touched on that when we went through the draw, so it'll be interesting to see. He's had an up and down season. He had a semi-final run in Washington only 4 weeks ago, and he went down to the eventual winner and Thompson's Aussie compatriot, Alex de Minaur. He's also made the 4th round here previously, so he's not without a hope. This one will be one of my picks for day one's matches. I think this is going to be a really exciting one. Moutet does lead the head-to-head 1-0, 1-love, if you will, with a 3-set win at Indian Wells earlier this year. But look, if Jordan Thompson is fit and healthy, I think you'll get it done. I just don't know if he's 100% at the moment. So I'm going to go Moutet to get it done in 4, but this could be absolutely anything. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. It's going to be a cracker as well. So that is Aussie Watch. Let's move on to some matches in the women's draw, and we're going to talk about McCartney Kessler up against Magda Linette. The 32nd seed takes on the pole. Linette leads their head-to-head. Kessler leads their head-to-head at 1-love. Much better hard court record, a 20-11 hard court record in her career for Kessler. Currently ranked 34. Linette 36, just outside of the seeding. So it is an interesting one. Both have 3 tour titles to their name, a winning record this season. Kessler's much stronger, 30-19 across the year. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Kessler bowed out in Cincinnati to Ella Seidel, interestingly enough, in the second round, while it was Kudermetova who knocked out Linette in the 3rd round after she'd beaten Jessica Pegula, though. So not without a shout. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. This one, 2 tennis players, very different styles. I'm actually thinking that Linette might be a smoky here. It'll be the home crowd that Kessler will need to get behind her. But I'm going to go Linette to win this one in 3. The next one, we go across the ditch to our Kiwi compatriot, Lulu's son. She'll take on the Colombian Camila Osorio. Osorio has been as high as 33 in the world. She's certainly a very handy player. And when we have a look at these 2 players, they're both sort of heading in the right directions at the moment with their careers, well and truly entrenched. Son dropped back down to 102 in recent times. Osorio knocking on the door of the top 50. It's going to be interesting. Osorio's had a better season, but she had a bit of a tough grass court run. I think Osorio will get this one done. I think the hard courts will suit her game reasonably well. She started to really find her rhythm after a slow start in her career on hard courts and holds a winning record. She did pull out, though, in Cincinnati, so that will be a question of whether or not she is fully fit. She had Jelena Ostapenko in the 2nd round there, while Lulu's son lost in the 1st round at Monterey only last week, going down to Linda Noskova. So she did beat Diane Parry, though, in qualifying. So interesting to watch here, but I'm going to go with Osorio to get this one done in 3 and see how they shape up against each other. The final women's match that we're going to have a look at is Alexandria Yala, the Philippine star. She comes up against Clara Towson. Yala hasn't played since she was knocked out in the 1st round by Marketa Vondroshova in Canada. We know that she previously to that was playing at Wimbledon and went out in the 1st round again, drawing a seed there, Barbora Krejcikova. So Towson, we know she's been in absolutely phenomenal form when you have a look at what she's done so far this season. She's surged up to a 15th in the rankings. Yala at 70. And Towson's had a really good year this year. If we have a look at her hardcourt form, 20-8. She only has a losing record on clay so far. She has, however, only been to the second round here at the US Open 3 times, 2021, 2023, and 2024. This is Yala's first run into the main draw here in Flushing Meadows, so it'll be interesting to see how they shape up. No matchup between these two before, not that surprising considering how young and fresh to the circuit Iala is. But I just see that Towson, she has been on an absolute tear so far this season, as I said, and surged up to 15th in the rankings. She made it to the semi-finals of Montreal, the quarterfinals at Washington. She got knocked out by Iga Swiatek as well at Wimbledon. So there's certainly some pieces falling in her favour. She's continuing to build her pedigree and her career, and I think she may be a smoky to make a little bit of a run here and potentially get through into spots that might even exceed her seedings, and she'll be eyeing off maybe a quarterfinal here if she can, at least, and advancing to the round of 16 to make sure she's maintaining her ranking. So I think Towson will get this one done, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Ayala take a set off her. Let's move on to the men's matches, and we're going to talk about Frenchman Adrian Mannarino. Look, he's I think it's probably fair to say, a journeyman at 37 years of age. He's formerly France's number one, and he could be an interesting one for Talon Griekspoor, the 29th seed, the Dutch player. Griekspoor's a player who's been around the cusp of the seedings, and it really surprised me that these two have never come head-to-head on the main tour. They played in qualifying at the ATP Masters in 2022 with Griekspoor winning in straight sets. But yeah, this is an interesting one. Both been on the tour for some time. Mannarino, 37. He's ranked 77. Griekspoor, 29, ranked 30 at the moment. So an interesting matchup. I think it probably bodes well for the experience of Mannarino, to be fair, and I think he's probably an outside chance. He's got a decent record this year. Griekspoor obviously is superior to him, but Mannarino's a handy player. He can certainly throw a cat amongst the pigeons. I'm going to go Griekspoor to get it done in 4. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Mannarino did manage to get him. Again, remembering he's been as high as 17 in the world before. Griekspoor yet to get into the top 20. So we'll see how this one shapes up. I think the experience of Mannarino could be a really interesting clash for them, and he's got a decent record on a hard courts, having had some really good seasons over the last, so going back to 2023 and 2022. In line with everything else he's done the last 2 years, though not the best of form. So he did get through, though, to the fourth round where he went down to Yannick Sinner, the eventual runner-up at Cincinnati. So not some bad form coming in for Mannarino, but I think Griekspoor will possibly get this one done. We move on to the next of our matches, and we look at Luca Nardi up against the 21st seed Thomas Mahach. So this will be an interesting one for Nardi. He's only got as high as 67 in the world. He's coming off a run to the fourth round, or the round of 16, sorry, I should say, at Cincinnati, where he went down to the eventual winner, Carlos Alcaraz. He took out Jakub Mensik in a second set walkover. He knocked out 24 seed Denis Shapovalov as well. And that was after he'd gotten through qualifiers. So he's playing into some hardcourt form here. He could be a little bit of a smoky. Mahach, on the other hand, look, he got knocked out in the round of 64 by Adrian Mannarino there. When we go back to Canada before that, he again knocked out in the first round by Riley Opelka. So he's susceptible to an early loss, and I think Nardi's a bit of a smoky chance here when we have a look at it. They haven't played against each other on the tour before. Nardi, look, he's ranked much lower when we have a look at it, but he's got the potential. He's only 22. He's on the rise, I think, and he's a name to watch. And Mahach, absolute gun at his best. He does lead their head-to-head on non-tour matches 2-1. The last of those back in 2023, though, so I'm not sure how much form we can take from them. All on indoor hard courts. The 2-1 lead in those matchups. The first of those goes back to when Nardi was just 17. So again, interesting to look at. But I'm going to tip Nardi for an upset to knock out Mahach here. I'm going to go Nardi to win this one in 4 sets for a little bit of a curveball, if you will. Moving on, we head to one of the greats of tennis of all time, Novak Djokovic. And I just wanted to touch on this. It's an interesting one. He comes up against the American Lerner Tien, and Tien can be a bit of a handful. We saw that. He challenged Andrei Rublev before getting knocked out in Cincinnati. He got through to the last 16 in Canada, where he went down to countryman Alex Mickelson. And of course, at Washington as well, got through to the last 16 there, where he went down to Davidovich, who was the eventual runner-up. So certainly no stranger to strong performances. He's been up inside the top 50 previously. Obviously, Novak Djokovic, we can wax lyrically about him. We know what he can do. Ranked number 7 in the world at 38 years of age. One title this year, all those Grand Slam titles. He's been playing on the tour for 23 seasons. He turned pro 20 years before Tien. When you have a look at those sorts of numbers, it's kind of a compelling case. Tien was born 2 years after Djokovic made his tour debut, which just really puts this into perspective. Tien at just 19. I think he'll challenge Djokovic, but I think Djokovic will get through this one. Wouldn't be surprised to see Tien take an early set, maybe the first or second, but Djokovic will get through in 4 sets here. Moving on, and the final match, we talked about Jakub Mensik up against Nicolas Jarry. This is one that, again, piques my interest. Mensik up to the 16th seed in the world, which is really 16th seed in the tournament, which is a really positive for him. Obviously means that it just, limits clashes until he gets through till the 4th round with those other top 16 players. He's ranked 16th in the world. Nicolas Jarry down to 102. He's been ranked much higher. He's been seeded at a number of tournaments. I think actually his high ranking actually matches that of Mensik. He's been up as high as number 16 as recently as May last year. So interesting matchup. Jarry has been getting back to some good form in recent times. He's certainly not at his best, as I say. He's dropped a couple of games in a row in recent weeks, but leading up prior to Winston-Salem and Cincinnati, we saw him get through to the 4th round where he went down to Cameron Norrie at Wimbledon. So not someone I'm prepared to completely write off. Mensik hasn't been in the best of his form. He did lose to Davidovich Fokina in the 3rd round after a 1st round bye. So just the one win, beat Boyer, the American, in the 2nd round. Then he went out to Nardi, as I touched on, retired in Cincinnati. So just not sure. He could be susceptible to Jarry here. Jarry's going to have to be at his absolute best. I'm going to go with Jakub Mensik to get it done, just purely on his absolute top. If he's 90% or above, I think he'll win this one. But again, it could go deep. So I'm going to go a 4-setter to Mensik. If he's not healthy, though, it'll be 4 sets to Nicolas Jarry. Can't wait to see how this one shapes up. But that's day 1 at the US Open. Really looking forward to things getting underway from 1 a.m. Monday morning Aussie time. And the games and matches will go right through. Some real prime time early morning matches. We can have a look at Daniil Medvedev versus Benjamin Bonzi at about 10 a.m. in the morning. We'll see Jordan Thompson in action around 4:30 in the morning. So lots of early hours to be watching tennis. Can't wait for it. The women's matches as well, some really good ones. Emma Raducanu will be in action as well. Destiny Aeva will get underway on Louis Armstrong at 9 a.m. against Paolini. And we'll see Jessica Pegula bringing home Arthur Ashe from about 10 o'clock. So really looking forward to this. It's going to be a great tournament. It's a US Open that I think certainly in the women's is open for some interesting results. The men's, look, like many others, I think it's going to be reasonably predictable. So we'll see how it all shapes up. But that is the day 1 daily dose for the US Open. We look forward to coming back and talking to you again about the US Open again tomorrow. Make sure you stay tuned to all of our daily doses. There's going to be plenty of content coming at you thick and fast as the US Open and much, much more is ongoing over the coming next couple of weeks.